I hope you were able to see the distinction I am trying to point out. In no sense do I advocate evading or defying the law, as would the rabid segregationists. That would lead to anarchy. One who breaks an unjust law must do so openly, lovingly, and with a willingness to accept the penalty. I submit that an individual who breaks the law that conscience tells him is unjust, and who willingly accepts the penalty of imprisonment in order to arouse the conscience of the community over its injustice, is in reality expressing the highest respect for the law. Of course, there is nothing new about this kind of civil disobedience. It was evident subliminally in the refusal of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to obey the law of Nebuchadnezzar on the grounds that a higher moral law was at stake. It was practiced superbly by early Christians who were willing to face hungry lions and excruciating pain of chopping blocks, rather than submit to a certain unjust law of the Roman Empire. To a degree, academic freedom is a reality today because Socrates practiced civil disobedience. In our own nation, the Boston Tea Party represents a massive act of civil disobedience. We should never forget that everything Adolf Hitler did in Germany was legal, and everything the Hungarian freedom fighters did in Hungary was illegal. It was illegal to aid and comfort a Jew in Hitler's Germany. Even so, I'm sure, had I lived in Germany at the time, I would have aided and comforted my Jewish brothers. If today I lived in a communist country where certain principles dear to the Christian faith were suppressed, I would openly advocate disobeying the country's anti-religious laws.
One of the most well-known civil activists ever, Martin Luther King Jr., wrote this letter in a jail cell in Birmingham, Alabama, as a response to several clergymen after they had ridiculed him on a newspaper. Having none of that, Martin Luther King Jr. decided he would write a strongly written letter back to the clergymen in order to tell them all the reasons he was doing this. He had so many reasons and so many different things to tell them that it filled up 14 pages of full text. The 3 paragraphs that I read aloud are only scratching the surface of the amazing writing that he did while stuck in that prison cell. I am to go over those 3 paragraphs that I just read in great detail. The first paragraph is a good example of ethos. Ethos is ethical persuasion. It's very good because he is stating his claim, reasserting it, and talking about it in greater detail. In this instant, he is talking about breaking the law, but not just any law, an unjust law, as he makes explicit in the first few sentences. He talks about when his claim can be accepted. In this instance, when someone can accept the penalty of it and understand the fullness of what he or she is doing, not just doing it for their own self-interest. Then, and only then, quote, he is actually expressing the highest respect for the law, unquote. On to paragraph 2. It is chock full of allusions. Allusions being literary references to one thing or another. The first allusion that I see is referring to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego disobeying the law of King Nebuchadnezzar. Martin Luther King uses this allusion very well because it is talking about 3 normal people who decide to defy their king, who was one of the most powerful people at the time, for something they believe in. The next allusion Martin Luther King uses is talking about early Christians in Rome. Now, the Roman Empire didn't take too kindly to Christianity, as it did change a lot of things. They decided at one point that they would kill off all the Christians at the time. And so all the Christians were hunted down and either executed on the chopping block or sent into a coliseum for the enjoyment of others to face lions. Another allusion talking about people doing things just for what they believe in. The third allusion here talks about Socrates. Socrates is the father of philosophy, as it were. He taught Greece how to think for themselves, and eventually he was killed by the government of the time because they felt threatened because of what he believes and what he did. The fourth allusion is the Boston Tea Party. It is when America decided we had enough of Britain. We decided that enough of their unfair rule over us, and we decided that we would not take it anymore and get our own independence. I wonder what he's trying to drill in with all of these illusions. The fifth illusion is talking about Adolf Hitler. As everyone knows, what he did was very, very wrong in the eyes of many. But it was considered legal in Germany at the time. He did have the right to do that. It was not good what he did, but he did legally have the right to do it. And our fifth and final illusion is talking about the Hungarian freedom fighters. For those of you who don't know what that's talking about, it's talking about when Hungary was under the rule of communism. Most civilians decided they had enough of it, and so a revolution occurred, again, where a few people go against the unjust laws of the government. That's all the time we have for this episode. Tune in next time for some more stuff that you might like to enjoy. Later.